All right, so here's the last thing, and I guess maybe I could even make this a little bit bigger and have it be on screen. So I made just a small modification to the code to do it by county divided by the population. And so here's what this looks like.
It's a pretty different graph.
Yeah, and so but before we, I just wanted you to see it, and then what are some of the steps you think I would have to do to make this modification?
Well, you'd have to get the population data per county.
Mm-hmm. And actually, luckily, Mathematica had that as part of one of their data sets. It was from 2010, but that was fine. The population's off by a little bit because I'm sure the population's changed a little bit in the last 10 years, but it's not terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, if you have all of the numbers for coronavirus cases by county, then the county should line up. Like the first number in the coronavirus table should be the same as the first number in the population table. So
you kind of just have to match each county population to the number of cases, and then just you divide the number of cases by the population and turn that into a decimal.
Yeah, and actually it's interesting. What you said is what I also had hoped would be true, that the counties would line up, but unfortunately they didn't. But it's fine. You obviously you need to check if they line up, and if they don't line up, then you gotta fix that data a little bit. And that actually I'm sure there's a simple way to do that, but I wrote a kind of a dumb way to do it. I'll show you. But I let it run while we were having dinner last night because I wasn't really under a lot of time pressure. So all I did is I took the population counties and then their data for the coronavirus, and I just did 2 loops, and I just said for the first one, find the one where it matches, and then set that equal to that population. So this is the slowest possible way to do it, and for every single county, I went through the whole list to try to find the match. But again, I'm sure there's a better way to do it, but there was no hurry since we were having dinner, so I just ran while we were having dinner. All right, now let's go back to the map and tell me what you see that's different on this map. The one thing I should explain is I didn't do the colors super well. So the darkest color is only 3 cases per 1,000. So I need to separate the colors a little bit better, but still you can see.
Yeah.
So tell me what you see here.
Well, it seems you see this outbreak in sort of, I don't know, like sort of the middle west of the country, maybe that's around Salt Lake City.
I don't think that's quite Salt Lake City, but yeah, it's somewhere west.
And you see that before any of the other dark red, so maybe that's a very small population area, and they had just a few cases, and that jumped very quickly.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly right. So we would have to investigate there, especially since my darkest color is only 3 per 1,000. It doesn't have to be that big of an outbreak in a small county, in a small population county.
Yeah, and it looks like you can still see like the East Coast here gets hit hard. But that's kind of confusing because also like this area that we were talking about here that doesn't have a lot of people in it. Also seems to show the same colors as the East Coast, so it just has kind of the same fraction of cases, but probably in reality is a lot less cases than we have up here.
Yeah.
But the whole East Coast is kind of the same dark red color.
Yeah, it's actually, that was a big surprise to me that down the whole East Coast, even though it doesn't get as dark down here, but you can see that it really did spread all down the East Coast. And there's this outbreak here, which is in either like southern Georgia or northern Florida, is one that's interesting. The other surprise, well, actually, you guys tell me, are there any things that surprise you on this map?
Well, I think this outbreak here is kind of surprising because it doesn't seem to show as much as it did on the other map.
Okay, yeah, so that's in Los Angeles.
That's a pretty big population center.
It's a big population center, so they had an outbreak that was dark colored on the population map. But when I divide by the population, it's small.
Yeah,
Or
no.
sorry, I shouldn't say it's small. It's not as it
Not-
doesn't
Mhm.
it seems to barely reach our 3 per thousand.
Yeah.
Anything else that surprises you?
Well, this area up here, this doesn't show up at all. It doesn't register as basically any cases at all.
Yeah, so that looks like that's sort of North Dakota, Montana, very rural.
There's not a lot of people there either.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why those counties don't seem to have very many cases. One big surprise to me is even though my highest shading is 3 per thousand, California still doesn't really reach the highest shading, at least not in very many spots.
Yeah.
So even though California has a very large population, like even we can compare it to Texas, which gets pretty dark, we don't see the a lot of cases, a lot of density of cases in California.
Yeah, because of such a large population area.
All right, so this is pretty cool. It's also, I think, a fantastic illustration of the power of things that you can do in Mathematica.
Yeah.
All right, good job, guys.